Hi, this is Martha Hartney with Hartney Law in Boulder, Colorado. And this is the first of a series of 3 videos to help get you up to speed on what estate planning is and what it can do for you and your family. So this first video is primarily geared towards families with children who are still at home and how we take excellent care of them in an emergency situation, legally and financially. The next 2 videos are more about traditional estate planning, how we take care of our families during a disability and when we die. If you are a grandparent, you may want to stick around and watch this segment so that you can be informed and share this information with your children. If not, then just proceed straight to video number 2 so you can jump into the deep end of the ocean of estate planning when your children are grown. So I'm just going to jump in here at the primary concern that we hear from families whose children are still at home under 18. And their concern when they come to see me is really about making sure their children are cared for by the right people at the right time. Many parents will go see a lawyer and ask for a will, thinking really what they're looking for is inside of the will, the guardianship nomination that traditional estate planning attorneys have stuck inside of a will. That's when they think of, oh, I need a will. What they're really meaning is, I need to take care of my child. I need to make sure that my child has a guardian. So that's the traditional practice from easily 100 years, the last 100 years. Traditional estate planners have simply just inserted a clause inside of a will that nominates a guardian. That is no longer a sufficient way to handle our children's guardianship and their legal and physical care. And the reason is because our families are now scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. It's very rare to find families that live nearby each other, where there's multiple family members around, close-knit. Most families live separate and apart from their parents, their grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and so forth, and we're kind of isolated that way. So that's a somewhat new development in the law, and the way legal practice has progressed, it actually hasn't taken this reality into account. So the way we conduct our estate planning is to make sure that we think through carefully how children are cared for throughout a tragic situation, from the minute it happens until they are safely placed in the care of their long-term guardian, and that guardian is properly resourced for the long term. So the way we handle this in our law firm is that every family who has minor children at home has a segment, a separate, carefully planned out segment of their plan called a Children's Emergency Response Plan. We no longer just embed it and throw it in documents. We actually want to think through the custodial issues around our children. So you know when you take your children to school, first day of school, or even before, the school district will ask you to fill out the emergency contact information at school, and that will get you thinking about who you would want to pick your child up at school if you can't get there. So those emergency guardians, put a note in that, because those might be people that you would want to actually legally empower, go a little bit further than just simply adding their name to a contact list. You may want to empower them to take legal custody of your children in an emergency. So what we're looking for is the names of 3 or 4 people within 30 to 40 minutes of your family's local base of operation, your home, who you will legally empower to take temporary custody of your children in an emergency. And the reason is, if you don't do this and your family has an emergency, then first responders and law enforcement may have to take your children into protective custody. That means, say you're in an accident with your spouse on a date on Saturday night, and first responders are on the scene working on you and trying to stabilize you. And if your children are really young, you're going to have car seats and the paraphernalia of parenting in the back seat. You may have photos in your wallet, or some other indicia that you are a parent and that you have minor children. With all of that paraphernalia puts law enforcement on notice that they now need to secure the safety of your child. They need to respond to your child. And that's because it's their responsibility to make sure your child is safe and cared for. So they'll send a squad car out to your last registered address and knock on the door, and a uniformed police officer will tragically inform whoever answers the door what's going on with you. And then they'll ask, do you know where the child's legal guardian is? And who knows what your babysitter, nanny, friend, neighbor is going to say. Do they know who or where your child's legal guardian is? So we actually need to make sure that first responders are able to locate people who have legal authority over your child. And only you can give that legal authority to another person. So if the person who answers the door is a family member, police and sheriff, child protective services are allowed to leave that child in the physical care of a family member. But if that's not a family member, they have no choice but to take your child into protective custody and connect them with a caseworker at Child Protective Services or Health or Human Services, whatever the name is of the agency in your county, where that caseworker will make the decision of where that child's going to stay while your child's legal guardian or next of kin is located. So the better plan is for you to make that decision and to provide proper documentation to the people that you will legally empower to take custody of your children. In our firm, we call this plan the Children's Emergency Response Plan. And it is a complete legal and alert system to make sure that your children are picked up by and held in the care of the people that you choose. So if you're interested in knowing more about the Children's Emergency Response Plan, you can go to our website, and it's called gocherp.com, GOCHERP.com, where you can, from the comfort of your computer, nominate temporary legal guardians for your children and obtain a comprehensive alert system so that law enforcement knows who to contact and is easily able to identify your children's temporary guardians and get them together with your child so that they don't have to take your child into protective custody. So that's step one. We want to make sure your child has temporary legal guardians who are legally empowered to take custody of your children in an emergency. Step two is making sure to nominate your child's long-term guardian, the person who will raise your child for you if you are unable to do this for yourself. So a couple of thoughts about this is not an easy decision, and many parents have difficulty making it, in part because no one will ever do as good a job as you. No one will be 100%, that's the right person. I'm absolutely positive that I know who my child's guardian is. So a lot of people have some difficulty making this decision, sometimes between two sides of a family, or from among siblings or aunts and uncles, or even friends. But it's critical that you make this decision. It's so much more important that you make it, even if you change your mind later, than if you leave it to the alternative. Because the alternative, the default, is that a court will decide for you who will raise your child. And they may not pick the person that you would choose. They will only pick from among the people who volunteer for the job, and they will have to have hearings and make inquiries into the quality of life that their child will have in the care of that person or those people, and then make a choice. So right now, there's a young child who is stuck in foster care in another state because her mom passed away in a horrible series of events, and because she was in another state, that state had to take the child into their foster care system, and that state's judicial system is trying to figure out who's going to raise the child. She's been there for several months. Now that's a tragic outcome for a child that we can prevent by doing proper legal planning for our children. So you need to make these decisions about who will raise your child for you and then document it. And make sure that you have 3 alternates, one after the other, because your first choice may not be able to take the job if they're asked to do it. They may not be empowered. You want an alternate or 2 to pick from. So the Children's Emergency Response Plan at GoChirp.com will help you put those decisions in writing from the privacy of your home and the comfort of your chair without even having to get up. Now there's just no more excuses. It's easy. We have made it as easy and seamless as possible. You don't necessarily need to see an attorney, but if you do, there are attorneys who are skilled in children's planning like this. And you want to make sure that you find one of those attorneys to advise you on the children's part and on your legal planning. At least you can get your Children's Emergency Response Plan in place and then take up the banner of getting your estate plan done to properly provide for your guardian in a seamless, easy, and life-giving fashion. That's what we will take up in video number 2. So if you're ready for that, go ahead and watch that, or take a break and let this content, what I've just talked about here for the last 11 minutes, take a little root and integrate with you. Start making some decisions about who you will nominate as your child's local temporary guardian, what 3 or 4 people in that category, and then who you will nominate as your child's long-term guardian, 3 or 4 people in that category. Gather their contact information up, and if you're ready, you can go on to the GoChirp site and purchase that and get it done today. Or if you want to know more about your full estate planning and you really want to engage an attorney to get a full estate plan done, continue watching these videos and call our office. We would love to meet with you. Our office number is 303-747-3909. And I thank you for your great care of your children. We want to make sure that you do this very well from the beginning so that you can let it go and move on with your life. Okay, great. Bye.